Hi everyone! I'm so glad that you've decided to join me today because today we're talking about how you can harness your powers and your energy through self-mastery. I'm Izzy Constant. I'm an intuitive healer, a Reiki master, and an energy guide. And I help successful but stuck people gain the self-knowledge that leads to their liberation by teaching them how to connect to their innate self and balance their energies using ancient tools. I've been doing this work for a long time. I've been helping people make internal changes to create the external things they desire for about 10 years now. I came into this work because I was looking for a way to take back control of my own life and take care of my own symptoms. I experienced a lot of childhood abuse, and as a result, I had a lot of suppressed energy and emotions. I have worked through childhood sexual assault, complex PTSD, eating disorders, addiction, and even tamed my nervous system after severe repeated childhood trauma using these techniques that I'm talking about today. I tried a lot of other things to help me with the symptoms. Some of those symptoms weren't even mine. And as I worked through time with a mentor, I was able to fully understand what a lot of the symptoms I was experiencing meant. And a lot of that was about the energy that I had taken on from others. And as an empath, you take on energy from others too. We all take on energy from others, but for empaths, we take on a lot of energy from others and we amplify it. We amplify this energy that we take on from others. For empaths, that means that it can be really difficult to discern what energy is ours to express and what energy is not ours and just needs to be released. Now, I came into this work again because I was trying to work through my own symptoms, and what I found was self-mastery was the key. Knowing myself, knowing my energy, knowing how to balance and offload my energy, knowing what energy was mine and what energy I had taken on from someone else, that was vital and key to learning how to harness my powers. I kind of have always been an intuitive or an empath. I remember when I was a little girl, I used to feel all of the feelings of everyone around me at one time. And no one in my family really had a connection with their feelings. They sort of just ignored them or suppressed them. And as true empaths, we feel the need to display the feelings that others are suppressing. And that sort of comes in to us and we feel it as if it's ours. Now, not every type of empath does that. There are some empaths who just get a sense or a knowing of a feeling. And then there are other empaths who feel those feelings. And for me, I feel those feelings. I felt the feelings of my teacher and knew that she was sick, even though no one had told us that. I remember I was about 7 years old, and I kept just knowing, feeling her heaviness, feeling her sadness. I felt grief. I felt her feelings like they were mine. And then just a few days later, after I had fully decided, okay, I know for a fact she's got to be sick. Just a few days after that, she passed away. A lot of instances like this happened in my life where I could sense someone's feelings or I could feel their feelings, and they often didn't match up with what that person was presenting or saying. And for a lot of my life, that caused a lot of confusion, and I even felt like I was in the wrong or something was wrong with me. And I don't know if any of you have felt like that, but I'm here to tell you that's not the case. So after being 7 and having all those big feelings and understandings, and that continuing to go on throughout my life, I eventually decided this was a burden. And I'm sure that everyone sitting here watching me also felt like a burden at some point because of this gift. I kept it secret. I pushed it way, way down because I felt like it was a burden. I felt like knowing how people were feeling was too much. As a teenager, I knew about my own boyfriend's death because I could feel the feelings of his mother before I was even informed. And it was at that point that I said, never again, I'm shutting this down. What I actually did was shut down my connection to myself and my intuition. I didn't know that shutting down my empathic abilities would shut down my connection to my intuition, but it did. And it does for a lot of people. So I shut it down. I snuffed it out. I went on about my business. I went to high school and finished. I graduated college. I climbed a corporate ladder. I started my own business, and I thought, I don't have to deal with this again. Little did I know that shoving it down and suppressing it and not dealing with it again isn't going to work. That's not how emotions work, because emotions are energy in motion. They don't work by just suppressing them. And so as a result of all that suppression, by the time I was in my mid-20s, I was bedridden. Completely bedridden. Because this accumulation of energy, if we take on energy from others, if we suppress our own emotions, if we're taking on those emotions from others and we're not releasing and we're not offloading and we're not expressing, we're holding it. We're suppressing it. And when we hold it, it gets stuck. Stuck energy accumulates, and that accumulation moves us through the stages of illness. Initial accumulation just causes some undesired symptoms. Maybe you'll see some fatigue, or maybe you'll feel out of sorts. But the longer we continue to suppress emotion and energy, the longer we continue to hold on to it and not release it, those symptoms turn into disease and eventually disorder. And it's that accumulation of energy that creates that. It's that accumulation of energy that put me in the bed. Did I know that at the time? No, but I did know as I was lying in bed watching the 6th season of Roseanne for the 3rd time that something had to give. Something had to give. Now, at the time, I didn't know what that was. I had no idea what that was, but I began a search. It started with trauma because I had known a lot of trauma happened to me. So I started with this processing the trauma, therapy, those kinds of things, and it just wasn't doing what I needed it to do. It wasn't until I found my most treasured mentor who taught me about taking on and offloading energy from others and taught me about the true power of my empath abilities that I was able to get out of that bed and reverse that disease and disorder. How'd I do that? By releasing that energy that had accumulated and created it in the first place. But it wasn't that simple, and it certainly wasn't easy, because I had to learn a lot about myself, a lot about the energy I took on from others, a lot about what that meant for me. I had to learn how to discern what energy was mine to express and what energy was mine to release. Now, they may sound like the same thing, but they're not. We're meant to express our own feelings. We're meant to release the feelings of others. If we were to try to express the feelings of others, we'd spend a whole lot of time and energy expressing things that weren't even ours to express. And that leaves us just as drained as taking on all of this energy. So a huge part of this self-mastery for me was all about that discernment, the discernment to know what feelings I'm taking on from others, what feelings are really mine, and that I need to express. It was a very, very challenging experience, and one that took me a long time to get through. I had to understand how energies lived and moved inside me. I had to understand where those energies sat and accumulated. I had to start to learn what types of moving techniques, what types of breathing, what types of releasing techniques I could do to offload this energy. And it's not so simple. We're all designed to offload energy in an efficient way, and each of those ways are quite different. Now, there are some ways that we can all offload energies, and I'll guide you through an offloading practice at the end of this. But I had to trial and error how was best to release certain energies from my body. How was it best to release anger for me? How was it best to release sadness for me? And on top of that, how was it best for me to express? Because my expression was different than how I released it. It took a lot of time for me to understand the power of this ability. I had deemed it a burden for most of my life. And now, as I was working through all of these different intricacies of my energy and trying to figure out if it was mine or theirs, I still felt like it was a burden. It wasn't until I actually mastered that discernment. It wasn't until I actually knew myself and had moved through these stages of self-mastery that I really was able to get there, that I was really able to see the power underneath being an empath. And it might be hard for you to see that too. I know that for me, I had never really noticed that ability as something that could help others. I had never really seen it as something that could bring value to someone else's life. But once I had changed my own life, it changed the way I worked with clients as well. And I had been working with clients in a different way before, but this changed the way I worked with clients, and I realized something. I realized that with my empath abilities, I could sense what they were feeling. I could feel what they were feeling, and I could know whether or not it aligned up with the story they were telling me and themselves. And with that knowledge, I could guide them. I could guide them toward understanding that emotion. I could guide them toward the root of that feeling. And I couldn't do that when I was blocking my own intuitive abilities. I wasn't able to tune into them in the way that they needed me to tune into them. But now I can instantly know what a client is feeling because I am open and aware, and I know what is mine and what is theirs. So when their feeling comes in, I know it's theirs. And I can use that information to truly help guide them to understanding their own feelings. And that's what I do. I have taken what I have learned about self-mastery, and specifically the energetic level of self-mastery, and have used that to empower other people, because this journey of self-mastery was so empowering for me. And it's been so empowering for everyone that I work with. The sages of old were all about self-mastery. They were focused on letting a person fully understand and embody themselves, and that creating the external change. And I feel with an empath, our ability to not only feel us, but feel others really sort of elevates our ability to do that as well. It's important to me to help people understand this energetic level of self-mastery so they can fully harness their power, whether they be a full-blown true empath who feels feelings as if they're theirs, or another type of empath who just senses feelings or just gets this immediate insight about someone's feelings when you're around them. It's important to be able to harness this power, but that all starts with being able to offload the energy that you're taking on from other people. This is the first thing I always teach my clients, because when we start to take a look at that, we start to really take a good, hard look at ourselves. Now, we have to learn how to offload these energies, because just learning about the energies that we take on is not enough. We can learn about those energies until the cows come home, but if we don't do something to offload them, the accumulation that causes our symptoms will still occur. And this is why it's so important to not only know what energies you take on from others and know which energies are yours, but also know how to express and offload them. Now, a lot of us think we know how to express our feelings, but a lot of us were conditioned to express our feelings in judgments or determinations about someone else. For example, a lot of us were taught to express our feelings about our spouse not doing the dishes by saying they're lazy, and that's a determination about them. So it's important that you really work through actual expression that truly gets the feeling out, and not expression that doesn't really get that feeling out. But for empaths, offloading the energy is a more vital first step than learning your own energy, because we can offload what does not serve us. We can push what does not serve us out and then feel better. And sometimes, though, and this is the thing I'd love to caution you about, and I tell everyone I work with, when we're starting to do this, when we're starting to offload energy that we take on, for empaths who have not been able to control that for their whole life, they've been in this pattern of taking on energy from other people, amplifying it, maybe even over-identifying with it, thinking it's their energy or their feeling. And when that happens, when we start to over-identify, when we start to see this emotion or feeling as ours, and we've done that for our whole lives, when we offload the energy that isn't ours and we're just left with what we truly feel, it can be very calm and very uncomfortable. For an empath, we've kind of been bombarded with everyone else's feelings, and so being outside that space can sometimes feel completely uncomfortable, completely foreign. And for me, at first, it felt completely unsafe. I learned that grounding prior to doing these offloading practices really helps with that feeling of safety and really helps with those ways to be able to express it. And so that is what I teach. I teach people how to ground into themselves, to discern what energy is theirs and what is not, to learn their energetic makeup and how it is designed to move through this world. Because that is so important for an empath. And I have experienced firsthand what it's like to not have those outlets, to not be able to offload, and instead drive yourself into drained and sick. And if you're there now, or you feel like you're headed there, or you know you've accumulated some energy, I'd love to help you and invite you into a self-reflection practice. So self-reflection is really the first step to learning about your energies, to learning the energies that you're taking on from others. Self-reflection is really this foundational step to self-mastery. And that's why I host New Moon Commitments. It's a 40-day guided self-reflection practice, and I'd love to invite you into it. It's 100% free. We have a New Moon Commitment ceremony, and then you get 20 pre-recorded videos sent right to your email that are self-reflection questions, and I'll guide you through the process of reflecting on these questions. And then at the end, we'll have a full moon alchemizing ceremony where we ask the moon to help shed its light on the things we've been reflecting on. The next round starts May 11th, and I'd love to see you there. We're reflecting solely on our internal dialogue and what our internal dialogue can teach us about ourselves. Having said that, I'd also love to invite you in to a practice with me right now. An energy offloading practice that you can come back to and utilize at the end of your day to help you make sure you're not accumulating that energy that gets stuck and turns into illness and disease. So, I'll guide you through that practice now. Let me wet my whistle, as my grandmother would say. So just sort of wiggle, get a little comfortable where you are. You don't have to get in any certain position. Just make sure your spine is aligned, because that allows for a full, free flow of the energy that we're trying to move. If you've never done energy work before, there's a lot of information out there that says you have to do it in a certain way. Energy follows intention, and energy is blocked by expectation. So all you have to do is intend to move the energy and release any expectation of what that looks like, what that feels like. So go ahead and do that with me. Just take a moment to set the intention that you're going to offload the energy that you've taken on from others. Maybe today, maybe this week, maybe this month. And now take a moment to just release any expectations that you might have. Push them out on your next exhale. And go ahead and close your eyes with me. Place your right hand over top of your belly button and your left hand over your heart. And just be here. Be here with your breath. Feel how much of your body moves just with the power of your breath. And now imagine a light on your tailbone, like Rudolph's nose, a red light at your tailbone. And now imagine that light extending down into the ground as a beam, all the way down through the chair you're sitting on, all the way down into the earth. Take a moment to feel what it's like to have that grounding connection with Mother Earth. And now imagine light surrounding you like a shield. Imagine your shield opening up, leaving space for you to push out this energy. Once it's open, allow yourself to bring in and feel the emotions of the day. Don't worry about discerning your emotions, everything you've taken on from your experiences and interactions of the day. Bring up that energy. Imagine it coming up, up, up into your belly. And now grab that energy from your belly like a ball in your hands. You can sort of pull it together if you need to. And now take that ball and hold it in your hand. Feel the weight of all that energy from the day in your hands. It's not in your body anymore. It's in your hands. And now push that ball out through that opening you created. Watch it float away. And now we want to make sure we got it all. So take your hands and brush off your arms. Brush off your chest. Brush off your legs if you need to. You can feel that energy in there. Brush it off. You may need to get another ball up here in your chest. We hold a lot of things here in our heart and in between because often we just don't speak it and we push it down. So get another ball of energy. Pull the sadness, pull lack, pull anything that's coming up for you right out into that ball. And now hold that ball in your hands. Acknowledge the weight. Acknowledge what might have caused that weight. And when you're ready, push it out through that opening you created. Imagine you see it floating away. Take a moment now to sit with yourself, to feel that weight gone, to feel what it's like to have your own energy. And now imagine your shield sealing back up. You don't need that opening anymore because you've released what you've taken on. Once your opening is closed, it's time to replenish the energy. So go ahead and imagine a beam of white light entering through your crown, going all the way down your spine, all the way down through that root that you created into the ground. That white light is going to travel from above your head all the way down into the ground below you. Let your spine be its highway. Imagine it flowing from top to bottom, straight through you. Straight through you. Feel that energy filling you up. This is energy that's not going to accumulate. It's energy that it's okay to experience and feel. Allow it to flow through you freely for a couple more breaths. And when you're ready, imagine that beam of light that's extended into the ground, coming back up through the ground, back up through what you're sitting on, back up into your tailbone, back up through your abdomen. Imagine that it stops at your navel. Now imagine the light that's coming into the top of your head comes solely into your crown, into your third eye, down through your throat, through your heart, and into your belly, right by your navel. That beam is now a small ball of light sitting in your tummy behind your belly button. Focus on that light. Focus on the heat from that light in your belly. Focus on you. Bask in that light inside you. For as long as you desire. And when you're ready, open your eyes. This is an energy offloading practice that can help you anytime you're feeling out of sorts, anytime you don't understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling. Come back to offloading energy and replenishing with energy. I'd like to thank you for being here with me today and extend an invite to see you again soon. Take care.